Welcome to the Tivo Shalom Shir. I'm going to talk about something in Parshas Behar. There's two Parshiot this week, Behar and Bechukotai. But we're going to talk about one commandment in Parsha Behar, where Bnei Israel is commanded. It says, "V'yechi simkru mimkor lamisecha," when you sell property to your neighbor, O kana miyad misecha, or you buy from your neighbor, al tonu ish es achiv. You shouldn't wrong one another. And we're going to be talking about the concept of uh, onat devarim, and the how you can wrong somebody with your thoughts. And the example uh, the example is, uh, you're not interested in going to a store to buy anything. You just want to go and waste some time and spend your time there. Well, unless you tell the store owner that you're not here to buy anything, you have violated lo tonu, because you have given that person, you've given him the impression that you are going to purchase something, and you're there with no intentions at all of purchasing. And that's different from saying, I want to look around and see if I want anything. I don't know. But if you just come and start shopping, window shopping inside the store, so to speak, you can't do that. That's a violation of lo tonu. Lo tonu is also giving somebody the wrong advice, uh, or just trying to get rid of somebody. Somebody asks for directions on the street, and the common answer in Israel is, where do I get the so and so? Yashar, Yashar, Yashar. Well, it may not be straight. It may be to the left, to the right, and you're just coming up with that as a way of getting rid of somebody. That is, it means vonot devorim. Vonot devorim is also defrauding somebody. It's the concept of fraud, and the Gemara in Bava Metzia spends many dafing talking about uh, what that consists of and what your rights are and so on. So, with that brief introduction, let's just look at what the Tibot Shalom says. You all have it up on your screen, hopefully. Lo tonu ish es hamiso, and it repeats the pasuk that I just alluded to. V'chi timkru mimkor lamisecha. If you uh, sell something to your friend, or you buy, you shouldn't wrong each other. Rather, you shouldn't defraud each other. Well, how long and after it says below tonu ish esamiso. Then again it says, don't wrong your friend. So Rashi b'shem Torah's Kohanim al tonu iri behonos mamon below tonu behonos devorim. So Rashi interprets these two different uses of the language, as one meaning defrauding somebody on monetary means, and the other as just with words or thoughts that lead to action, causing the other person tsar, causing the other person pain. B'nei Isa, B'Masechta Tamid, it says, Rabbi Omer, he asks a question. What's the best way that a person should go through in this life? Yoshomrim, and others say, Yachzik b'amuna yatera. Gird yourself with more amuna, with strong amuna. Uperisham Rashi explains, Yisav yite v'rei adam be'amuna. You should deal with your fellow human being with emuna. With what does that mean? With emuna that Hashem is going to give me what I need to do. Hashem is giving me my parnasa. I don't have to cheat this person to increase my parnasa. I don't have to lie about something to increase my parnasa. What I'm destined to make, I'm going to make. So dealing with emuna means totally dealing with truth in your mind and your heart, v'lo yodas chabrius, and not to wrong or defraud other people. Kvar hikshud, and they ask, "What kind of an answer is that to the question that was asked? What's the correct way for a person to go? Shakavana lederach miyuchedes shel midas chasidus sheyavor lo adam. The intent is to show a quality of piety, of chasidus, that a person should do. Kamosh Beres Rashi, and what he's saying is that that's not an answer, because the question is asked, what shall I do to get through this world? What's the correct way? And he says, you're telling us about something over and above. He says, Kamosh Beres Rashi, Sheis Harbe Derachim Yesharim, Shetzorich Adam Livchor. Rashi says there's many paths that a person should choose from. For the question is, what is the correct path for that particular person? The concept of dealing honestly with somebody in a business relationship, that's not just a custom or a quality that you should have, it's halacha, it's the law. The Ein Zamid is Chassidus, and it's not a quality of being such a great person. You're doing what you're supposed to do. The law says don't cheat. Don't cheat people. So Odhakshu, they also ask, excuse me, Hamash Mosiv Rashi, but Rashi further adds, V'lo Yares Abrios, don't defraud humankind. It sounds like that's included. When you say you deal honestly, and deal with emunah with everybody. And he goes on to say, according to what is said in Torah, in the Torah, Amos Memoron Akadosh B'Kubrim, from the Kubrin Rebbe, he says, Emes v'emuna chok v'lo yavor. Truth and emunah, faith in God, are statutes that you should not violate. And a chok, as we know, we've learned before, a chok is something that doesn't necessarily have a meaning as to why we're doing it. And the example that is given is the Parshas Chukas, when it talks about the Porah Duma. The Parsha says, in talking about the red heifer, it says, in Parshas Chukas, it says, Zos Chukas HaTorah. And the sages ask, we're talking about the Porah Duma. Why does it say Zos Chukas HaPorah? Why this is the statute of the Torah, not Zos Chukas HaTorah? So to teach us that every commandment in the Torah is in fact a chok. We do it, what is a chok? It's a statute without any real literal meaning. We can search for meanings, but you don't need meaning. The way you should do everything for, is because that's what God commanded. That's the Ratzon of Hashem. So he says the same about Emes V'Emuna, they're integral parts to doing business. The Chol HaMidos Tuluyim, the Fiha Eight Patanaim, all qualities, all of your characteristics are pretty much dependent on the time and the circumstances. Yeshitim she'adam tzorech l'nahag b'mido zu, v'yeshitim she'tzorech la'achos b'mido acheres. There are times that a person must ascribe to this quality, and there are other times that a person must ascribe to a different quality. Ach, shtei hamidos, but these two qualities, emes v'emuna, heim chok v'lo yavor. Those are statutes that should never be overridden. B'cholu itim tzorech Yehudi lachzik b'hem tamid. In every situation, a Jew must hold on to this concept of emuna and emes, faith and truth at all times. Papi Zayesh Lomer, the Lashon Chazal, as the sages tell us, Yachzik b'emuni yatera. You should strengthen yourself with more emuna. V'chein divrei Rashi. This is the wording of Rashi. Sheyisav yite b'emuna mikuvan al shtei hayesodos halal. You should deal in business based on these two concepts of emes and emuna. Al emes v'al emuna. Inyan emes. What does it mean, emes? Kamosh Matzir Shomer Chazal, the Masechet Makos, they tell the story, excuse me, Ala Perush Vadover Emes Bilvavo Kagon Rav Safra. They're trying to explain the sentence, you shall speak truth in your heart. Nobody knows what you're saying to your heart. What does that mean, truth in your heart? What does that mean? How do you imply that in real life? So they tell the story of Rav Safra, a Perush Rashi, and Rashi says, "V'hachi uvda, Rav Safra haya chayfetz echad limkor." It turned out that Rav Safra had one valuable object that he wanted to sell. Uva adam echad lefanav, and a person came to him, b'shah shoyakore kriya shema, at the time that Rav Safra was saying Shema. And we know that you're not allowed to interrupt your tefillah in the middle of Shema. You're not allowed to interrupt Shema in the middle of the Shema. So this person comes to him, and he tells Rav Safra, give me this, sell me this object for such and such amount of money. Below Anu. And Rav Safra, of course, didn't answer. He was in the middle of Shema, so he didn't answer him. Because so the person wanting to buy this, he thought that he didn't want to sell for this amount of money, and therefore he's ignoring it. So he adds more money. He says, he says, give it to me for this higher sum. After Safra finishes Shema, Amarlo, he tells the prospective purchaser, Tol hachafetz b'damim shamarta b'rishona. You can have this object for the first price that you quoted. Sheba'osa damim hoyadati litnam lecha, because when you quoted that figure in the middle of my Shema, I heard it, and it was my intention to definitely sell it to you for that. So that's dealing with emes v'emuna. That's the extreme case, that since he thought in his mind, in his heart, he's willing to sell it for that. It's a great order. It's a great offer. Then he wanted to stick with what he first thought, not with what came out of his mouth later, or not because he could have made more money. So this is what it means to hold on to strengthen your emuna with more emuna. Even though it doesn't seem like in the context of halacha, this is not defrauding somebody. If he would have just said, "Okay, I'll take your second offer," that's really not literal defrauding. Because it's only in his heart, he wasn't saying it, and the person was doing all the talking, he was making the offers. So he says, so she yishav item b'muna yidover emes b'vavo. It would not detract from him You said he should go with what his thought was and speak truth in his heart. In other words, his heart was willing to accept it. The first offer that was made, that's what he should take, not anything else. As our sages say, al pasuk im timtza biyado hagneva. If you find an object that was stolen by a thief, and you find it still in the hand of the thief, Shiva Ganavim Haim, there are three different kinds of Ganavim, of thieves. Seven different kinds of Ganavim. Harisho Shivakulam Gonev Das Habris, the greatest theft, the first, the head of this list of seven is where you're stealing the das of somebody else, stealing you're playing with their mind. You make them think something else. You're stealing the knowledge of humanity. B'masare b'chavero orcho vein belibo likroso shedei shelo yavo el mazmino kadei shiyachzik lo ala tova al kach. In other words, he should deal with his friend, with somebody he's doing business with what is actually in his heart, and not try to get something that he just because the other person's offering it to accept that. Marbelo Krovos. It sounds like he's giving this person a great gift. Shiva Haganavim. This concept of somebody who is stealing the das of somebody else by misleading their way of thinking, that's the first in the list of ganavim before the theft even occurs. And similarly, in serving God, part of the Sirah Tadibro says, don't take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Ojimus, this we can interpret this as saying, Shlo yeh no se alav Shem Hashem shu elakav l'shav. You shouldn't try to belittle the name of Hashem, to do business with the name of Hashem, but not in a truthful way. Because of this warning, Shlo yira al atzmo shu tzadik yoter mashu. Teaches a lesson. Don't look at yourself and see that you are a greater tzaddik than you really are. That is saying, look at your faults. Look in the mirror. Look at what you're doing. Don't rationalize it. We have a great capacity for rationalize everything we do. Hainush lo yira Adam es atzmo k'oved Hashem. Don't show yourself off as a person who's a servant of God when it's convenient for you. Kasher emes he shazel shav. When in truth it's falsity. You're not a servant of Hashem. She'enu oches b'zeh ve'en belibos kain. You haven't held on to this. Your heart is not this way. So therefore, by imitating somebody who's this holy person, you're taking God's name in vain. There's many different levels of this kind of conduct. There's falsity in speaking. You tell an outright lie. V'yesh v'machshava, shegonev das habrios. also in the thoughts that's through your thought process, you steal the thought process uh, of others. Yesho Bechinas Daka and Daka, other things, little things, shall sheker of lying, things that you don't even think about that uh, this is a lie, but it's a white lie as we call it. No such thing. Shigam ze bechlal sheker hamarchim b'shavis. But this too, these kinds of little white lies are the things that distance you from God. Kamamar tzadikim ala pasuk, because the righteous ones say on the pasuk, uh, midvar sheker tirchak, run away, stay far away from an evil word, from run away from lashon hora. Aide dibur, aide davar sheker titrachi v'sham yisborach. For something that is spoken falsely, makes you run away from Hashem, makes you farther away from Hashem. But hey, and the other way around too. Inyan emes, in the aspect of truth, yesh madregot gavoa me'al gavoa bechinas ma'adrim min adrim. In the aspect of truth, of dealing with somebody in truth, there are higher levels and higher levels and higher levels, one higher than the other. Yesh dover ohemus b'vavo. The one we're talking about, there's truth in your heart. V'yesh mas she'eis atzmo enu marima shub atzmi u'dayin esu emes. And that there's another time when you're holding yourself off as out as saying MS, but you're not really having a true MS in your heart. The harder you strive to raise your level of truthfulness, instead of bringing you away from Hashem, brings you closer to Hashem. This is what it means. Strengthen yourself with extra emunah. That you shall do business with emunah. Even though, according to the strict letter of the halacha, one doesn't have to do what Rab Safra did. One doesn't have to go that far. What does it mean to strengthen yourself with emunah? With extra emunah? It says, you should deal business with emunah. Even though you don't have to be that careful to do business on that kind of a high level of truth. But Amrar, below Yanas Habrius, nonetheless, it says, don't defraud creation, the creatures of creation. It talks even about things that are permissible to say, and you're not saying a real lie, and you're not saying something that's prohibited. People who are medayik in performing the mitzvos, who are careful in performing the mitzvos, they observe the mitzvos. They won't do this. Even though this is not a question of truth, but and the true path is that you should not defraud your friend, even with words. Ki nakuda emes ein lo shir, because the point of truth of emes has no boundaries, has no end. It keeps going. There's no limit to it. V'yesh emes lamito. There's truth. There's truth to your family. Zeh derech yishor sheyaveh adam nekuda emes. And this is the path that, to answer the question that was raised before, what is the correct path to go on? This is the path to go on, the truth, the path of emes, and uh, it is the point of emes, of truth, that is the pathway you should always strive to walk on. Included in this is the aspect of Emunah in Hashem. So when Moshe says, when a person is dealing with their business, people mistakenly think that they have a willing purchaser. They can charge whatever they want because the person's going to pay it. So why shouldn't I make more money from it? That's what they're thinking. But Ach Yehudi Ha'ami Be'amudah Shalema, a Jew who believes with perfect faith, should call Malchei Mizrach Umarav Einam Yecholim L'Hosif Lo Me'uma Al Kitzov Lo Kitzov Lo Me'Hashem Yisborach. A Jew who believes with simple faith, true faith, that every angel, even any angel from far and near, is not able to increase 1 shekel of your parnasa as to what was decreed for you on Rosh Hashanah. And you're not allowed to, and then they also cannot take away from it. And that's what he's trying to say. Deal with the moon and MS. Don't worry, it's going to cost you money. You're going to make whatever money was destined to be made on Rosh Hashanah. And you can do it the right way or the not so right way. Rak Mashi Shashgacha, well, Yona Hodio, Lo, Nixav Lo Rosh Hashanah, Kach Yelo. It's only what the Hashgacha Pratis, how Hashem wants, whatever Hashem wants you to have, that's what's going to happen, and you can't move from that at all. Even those words that other people think it's okay to say about people or to think, you shouldn't say that. Given Shemami Bashkocha Leona, because you have to believe in the providence from above, how God is always watching us, always involved in our lives. Shlo yotiru v'lo yapachu lo michelkom ameli yisrachi b'kol ma sheyesh bo ezer shemes shapagam b'emuna. We have to believe that God is not going to deviate at all from what was decreed for us to earn or to lose. And therefore, we shouldn't think that by doing something that is wrong, it'll increase our parnasa. If we do, this is simply a pagam and amuna. This is a defect in your amuna. If you have amuna, you will believe that Hashem is going to give you what was ordained. But him seshayde amuna over Yehudi Hashem Yisborach Tami b'maso matutero. We can see therefore with amuna, a Jew is always serving God and serving God in his business relations with the Muna. because Shunizar Tamim Ona, he's careful to avoid Ona, uh, wronging somebody. Biodua Shiyes Hashkocha Yonah. When he knows God is watching over him, and God is not going to take kindly to him trying to deceive somebody else. כמו שהיה אומר מורס הבקוש וחובץ חוסלני על הסוחרים שמסחרם עם הגויים, merchants who deal with non-Jews. שהיו בואים מהכפרים לקנוס. They come from the kfarim, the little villages around the big city to purchase their goods. ופעם היה קונים אצל sometimes they'll, when they come into the big city to the market, sometimes they'll buy from this merchant, other times from that merchant. But Tommy, how you do agima sochim shlo yitolecha parnaso shel chavero, and these merchants are worried that he shouldn't take away parnasa from their friend. Hagoy yotze mekvaro kvaro shum lamala. At the time the goy leaves his little village, it's already written down on above whose store he should frequent that day, and what he should buy, and what the price shall be. And this is the way that a person should do, how he should conduct himself. You should strengthen yourself with strong extra amuna. With clarity of your amuna. As we said, emes and amuna are a statute you can't do away with it. It says, every quality of a person with naig bohem kvidargan to dargaso, to keep these qualities according to their the way they're normally kept. There's nothing he can do to gain more than what was declared for him. Ava b'amuna tzorech Yehudi l'davar b'enyani emuna. With Amuna, you have to speak in the language of Amuna. Gam kasher ein lo hargashot, even in a time when you don't really feel that Amuna in your heart. Ki hashrosha Amuna techilasu b'dibur, the root of Amuna begins with speech, uvamoach, and in your mind. And then you'll come to feel this strongness in your heart. That means dealing with amuna, with extra amuna, because of the work that you've done on it. These two qualities, emes and amuna, truth and faith in God. That's the point. That's the point you should take. Because by taking this path, you're getting closer to God. Lagiv and akudat emes, to get to the point of truth. Madregos, on this madregos goes to high levels, shall mahadrim the highest levels, because you look for that point of emes, the point of emunah and truth. Kamokein the madregos kavos v'nekudas emunah. Similarly, with the high levels that you get from Emunah, Ushtei Midos Elu, these two qualities, Emes and Emunah, Mevios Letachlis Avodas Ish Yehudi, these qualities, they will bring a Jew to fulfill his purpose in this life, to get him closer to God. And the concept of Emunah, we just have to train ourselves to think that what I'm about to say, or what I'm about to do, is it in any way going to deceive somebody, either inadvertently or deliberately. So we have to be careful. And Chazal always tell us to be careful of your words, to be careful what you say. But these thoughts in your heart, they're transmitted to action by your deeds. So what the Torah is telling us is, without fail, without question, do not cheat anybody openly or in the hidden way, so he doesn't even know he's being cheated. All right, that's the Tiva Shalom for tonight. I'm going to stop the recording a moment.
Yashikoa.
Oh, yeah, hold on a second. It's still recording.